My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes the hardest decision in life is realizing that you cannot hold on to someone and still hold on to yourself. There comes a moment when your heart becomes so exhausted, so drained, so broken that Allah gently whispers to you, it is time to choose. You can keep sacrificing your peace for people who refuse to protect your heart, or you can walk away with your dignity and let Allah heal what they broke. Islam does not ask you to destroy yourself trying to save others. The Prophet ﷺ taught us balance mercy with wisdom, patience with boundaries, love with self-respect. When you stay where your soul is slowly dying, you are not being loyal, you are abandoning yourself. So if holding on is costing you your peace, your faith and your identity, then letting go is not weakness, it is the beginning of your strength. Holding on to the wrong people slowly destroys the heart. Holding on to the wrong people is not a loud kind of destruction. It happens quietly, day by day, in the small compromises you make with your peace, the moments you swallow your pain, and the nights you cry in silence. At first, you tell yourself you are being patient, loyal, forgiving, but slowly your heart begins to feel heavy, tired, and unseen. Allah did not create your heart to live in constant ache. When a connection steals your calm, it is not love, it is a lesson. Many hearts remain trapped because they confuse attachment with obligation. They believe that leaving is betrayal even when staying is killing their soul. But Islam never asked you to sacrifice your emotional health to prove your goodness. The Prophet ﷺ taught us mercy, but he also taught us wisdom. When you remain in a place where you are constantly wounded, you are not practicing patience, you are ignoring the warning signs Allah places in your heart. The wrong people do not always appear harmful in the beginning. Often they arrive with comfort, familiarity, and promises. Over time, however, their presence begins to drain you. Your smile fades, your energy weakens, and your spirit becomes tired of pretending everything is fine. Allah allows this discomfort so you can recognize what your heart can no longer carry. Holding on too long changes you. You become quieter, smaller, more cautious with your words. You stop expressing your needs because they are never truly heard. Your heart learns to survive on less than it deserves. This is not the life Allah intends for you. The soul was created to feel safe, respected, and honored. Sometimes you stay because you fear the pain of letting go. But the pain of staying slowly becomes greater. It enters your thoughts, your sleep, your prayer. It weakens your faith because your heart is too busy bleeding to fully connect with Allah. The wrong people do not just affect your emotions, they affect your relationship with your Creator. The longer you hold on, the more you forget who you were before the pain began. Your laughter becomes rare, your hope feels distant, your confidence fades. You no longer recognize the strength that once lived inside you. Allah does not want your life to be a slow erosion of your spirit. Many hearts remain in harmful connections because they hope people will change. But your responsibility is not to fix others at the cost of your own soul. Allah does not place you in this world to destroy yourself trying to save someone else. Love is not supposed to make you disappear. The wrong people often make you question your worth. You begin to wonder if you are too sensitive, too emotional, too demanding. But the truth is, your heart is reacting to being neglected. Allah gave you feelings as a gift, not as a weakness. When your heart is constantly hurting, it is because something is not right. Holding on slowly poisons your inner world. The mind becomes heavy with overthinking. The heart becomes exhausted with unanswered questions. The soul becomes distant from peace. This is how destruction happens, not all at once, but gradually, quietly, until you barely notice how broken you have become. Sometimes the wrong people stay in your life only to teach you when to leave. They are not meant to remain, but they are meant to awaken you. Allah uses them to show you your limits, your needs, and your strength. When you learn the lesson, the door must close. There comes a moment when your heart can no longer pretend. You feel it in your chest, in your prayers, in the heaviness you carry everywhere you go. Allah is calling you towards something better. That call is not cruelty, it is mercy. Holding on too long also teaches your heart that suffering is normal. But pain is not meant to be permanent. Allah tests, but He does not trap His servants in endless misery. He always provides a path toward healing. The wrong people slowly replace your peace with anxiety. You begin walking on eggshells. You become afraid to speak, afraid to feel, afraid to hope. This is not the life Allah wants for you. Your heart deserves rest. Your soul deserves safety. Your faith deserves space to grow. The wrong people block all three. When you finally release what is breaking you, the heart begins to heal. The pain does not vanish overnight, but the weight begins to lift. Your chest feels lighter. Your prayers feel closer. Your spirit slowly returns. Allah never asks you to remain where your soul is dying. He calls you toward what nourishes your heart, even when that journey is painful at first. The destruction stops when you choose yourself. That choice is not selfish, it is obedience to Allah's mercy. You were not created to slowly disappear for the sake of anyone. You were created to live with faith, dignity, and peace. And when you finally let go of the wrong people, you do not lose yourself, you finally begin to find yourself again. Islam does not ask you to sacrifice your soul for anyone. Islam is a religion of balance, not self-destruction. Allah never commanded you to break your heart, silence your pain, or destroy your inner world in the name of patience. True patience in Islam is not about enduring harm without wisdom. It is about trusting Allah while protecting the soul He entrusted to you. Your heart is an amana, a sacred trust, and Allah will ask you how you protected it. Many people confuse suffering with righteousness. They believe that staying in pain is proof of faith. But Islam does not glorify misery. The Prophet ﷺ never told his companions to remain in relationships or situations that were crushing their spirit. He taught mercy, but he also taught boundaries, dignity, and self-respect. Your soul was not created to be endlessly wounded by others. Allah created you to worship Him with a heart that is alive, present, and hopeful. When your soul becomes heavy with sadness, fear, and emotional exhaustion, it becomes harder to pray, harder to trust, and harder to feel Allah's nearness. Islam seeks to heal the heart, not slowly destroy it. There is a dangerous belief that loving someone means tolerating everything they do to you. But love in Islam is never blind. It is guided by wisdom. When someone repeatedly harms you, neglects you, or breaks your heart, continuing to stay is not loyalty, it is self-neglect. Allah does not reward you for remaining in places where your soul is suffocating. He rewards you for choosing what brings you closer to Him. Sometimes that choice requires walking away from people who pull you away from peace, faith, and self-respect. Islam teaches that your life, your mind, and your heart all have rights. You are not allowed to harm yourself emotionally just to keep others comfortable. Your well-being is not less important than someone else's feelings. Allah values your soul too much to ask you to destroy it. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrated this balance in every aspect of his life. He was the most merciful of people, yet he did not allow others to trample his dignity or abuse his kindness. He forgave, but he also distanced himself from harm. He loved deeply, but he never lost himself. When your heart is constantly breaking, your faith begins to suffer. You find yourself praying without presence, trusting without confidence, and living without peace. Allah does not want your worship to come from a wounded soul. He wants your worship to come from a heart that feels safe in His care. There are times when walking away is the most faithful act you can perform. It is a declaration that you trust Allah's plan more than your fear of being alone. It is an acknowledgement that Allah's mercy is bigger than your attachment. Islam never taught you to remain where your dignity is stripped. It taught you to walk with honor. Your self-respect is not arrogance, it is part of your iman. Your soul becomes lighter when you stop carrying what Allah never asked you to carry. You begin to breathe again. You feel closer to Allah. You regain clarity, strength, and emotional stability. Holding on to what breaks you does not please Allah. Protecting your heart for His sake does. When you finally choose to step away from what is destroying your soul, Allah begins to rebuild you from the inside. He replaces exhaustion with peace, confusion with clarity, and fear with trust. Your worth in the sight of Allah is not measured by how much pain you can endure for others. It is measured by your sincerity, your obedience, and your ability to trust His guidance. Sometimes the bravest act of faith is leaving what you love because Allah loves you more. You are not weak for choosing your healing. You are strong for choosing what Allah wants for you. Islam does not demand your suffering. It offers your soul a path to peace. When you honor that path, Allah honors your life. And the moment you stop sacrificing your soul for people, Allah begins restoring everything they broke inside you. Self-respect is part of faith. Self-respect is not pride, and it is not ego. It is the quiet awareness that your heart, your body, and your soul belong to Allah, and therefore must be protected with care. When you treat yourself with dignity, you are honoring the trust Allah placed in you. A believer does not live carelessly with their heart, allowing anyone to wound it repeatedly without consequence. Faith teaches you that you are valuable because Allah created you with purpose, and that value demands protection. A heart that respects itself does not beg to be chosen. It does not chase validation from people who refuse to see its worth. It understands that what Allah honors should not be lowered in the presence of neglect. Self-respect allows you to walk away from what diminishes your iman, your peace, and your character, even when attachment tries to convince you to stay. When your self-respect grows, your relationship with Allah deepens. You stop seeking acceptance from the world and begin seeking closeness to your Lord. You become careful with your time, your energy, and your emotions, knowing that each one is a form of worship when used wisely. This awareness transforms the way you move through life. Self-respect gives the heart the courage to set boundaries without guilt. It teaches you that saying no to harm is not cruelty, and walking away from disrespect is not arrogance, it is obedience. Allah does not want you to remain where your faith weakens, your soul suffocates, and your dignity fades. A believer with self-respect does not confuse patience with self-destruction. They understand that patience in Islam is strength guided by wisdom, not silent suffering that slowly kills the heart. When the soul is constantly in pain, faith becomes heavy. Self-respect protects your faith from that erosion. Self-respect is the shield that guards your inner world. It keeps you from returning to places Allah already saved you from. It keeps you from reopening doors that once broke your heart. It reminds you that growth sometimes means choosing loneliness over losing yourself. When self-respect becomes part of your character, your life changes. Your relationships shift. Your standards rise. Your heart becomes calmer. You no longer settle for emotional crumbs because you know your soul deserves a table prepared by Allah, not scraps offered by people. Self-respect teaches the believer how to love without losing themselves. It allows compassion without self-betrayal, mercy without weakness, and forgiveness without continued harm. It is the balance the Prophet ﷺ lived and taught. A self-respecting heart does not explain itself endlessly. It trusts its conscience, its values, and its connection to Allah. It knows that those meant to stay will respect your boundaries, and those who resent them were never safe for your soul. As self-respect strengthens, fear weakens. Fear of being alone, fear of disappointing others, fear of starting over. All of it fades when the heart realizes that losing Allah's pleasure is the only real loss. Self-respect is choosing peace over attachment, truth over comfort, and growth over familiarity. It is the quiet bravery of honoring what Allah is building inside you. Self-respect is refusing to stay where your heart is slowly dying, even when leaving feels painful, because staying would cost you your soul, and Islam never asks for that price. Self-respect makes your worship lighter, your dua becomes stronger, your heart feels safer in Allah's presence. You no longer pray from desperation but from trust. When you protect your dignity, Allah protects your future. When you honor yourself, Allah honors your path. When you choose your soul for His sake, Allah chooses you. Self-respect is not about rejecting people. It is about refusing to abandon yourself. And the believer who finally learns this walks through life with quiet strength, steady faith, and a heart that knows its worth not because of the world, but because of Allah. Letting go creates space for Allah's healing. Letting go is one of the most difficult acts of faith because it requires releasing what your heart clings to for comfort, even when that comfort is slowly hurting you. When you finally loosen your grip, you make room for Allah to work in ways your attachment was blocking. Healing cannot enter a heart that is already full of pain, resentment and fear. Allah begins His work the moment you release what no longer serves your soul. When you hold on to something that is breaking you, your heart becomes crowded with sorrow. There is no space for peace to settle, no room for clarity to grow. Letting go creates the emptiness that Allah fills with mercy, understanding, and calm. That space becomes the beginning of healing. Many hearts delay their own recovery because they refuse to release the past. They replay old moments, hold on to old wounds, and reopen scars that Allah was ready to close. Letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing not to live inside the pain anymore. The moment you let go, your breathing changes. The heaviness in your chest softens. Your prayers feel lighter. You begin to sleep without the same weight on your heart. These are signs that Allah's healing is entering. Letting go is an act of trust. You are placing your broken pieces into Allah's hands and believing that He knows how to rebuild you better than you ever could. As you let go, your heart becomes more present. You stop living in regret and start living in reality. Healing happens only in the present moment, not in the past. You cannot change. Letting go also teaches you to stop fighting what Allah has already written. When you surrender, your heart aligns with divine wisdom and peace begins to grow. Every time you release something that hurts you, Allah replaces it with something that heals you. This exchange is one of the greatest mercies of faith. Letting go allows you to forgive without forgetting the lesson. You release bitterness but keep the wisdom. When you let go, your soul stops carrying unnecessary weight. You feel free, lighter, and more alive. Letting go also brings emotional clarity. You begin to see what truly matters and what was never worth your tears. As you let go, you make room for new blessings. Old attachments block the doors of future peace. Letting go is how Allah teaches you that your life is not defined by what you lost, but by what He is giving you next. When you let go, you discover that your heart is stronger than you thought. Letting go brings humility. You realize you cannot control everything, and that is where faith becomes powerful. As you release your grip, Allah's healing enters slowly, gently, and deeply. Letting go allows your heart to trust again. You stop expecting people to heal wounds only Allah can heal. Letting go gives you back your dignity, your peace, and your sense of self. With every release, your heart grows quieter, calmer, and more hopeful. Letting go makes your connection with Allah stronger. You stop searching for closure in people and find it in faith. Letting go transforms your pain into wisdom. Your soul begins to bloom in the space that was once filled with sorrow. Healing becomes visible in your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Letting go is not losing something, it is gaining your life back. When you finally let go completely, you realize that Allah has been waiting to heal you all along. When you choose yourself, Allah restores you. When you finally choose yourself for the sake of Allah, something powerful begins to happen within you. The heart that was once exhausted from pleasing